and welcome in to the 8th installment of the Out of Bounds podcast, presented by the Penn IUP Student Voice since 1926. I am your host, Josh Carney, joined in studio by Dan Wallace and our special guest yet again for the second, what would that be, Monday in a row, Pat Damp.
That was a good year, by the way, 1926.
Yeah, unless we skipped a week, this would be the second Monday in a row.
Yep, I don't think we skipped a week, but yeah, well. All right, anyway, we are here to talk Olympic hockey. In case you missed it, it kicked off, what was it, last Thursday?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday was the days for the group.
And they're off today to do the seedings, giving a day off.
Things are out, whatever. Just a day off.
Yeah. But the first question for both of you gentlemen, who has been the surprise team for you?
I got to go with the United States, plain and simple. I'm not saying I expected them to be bad. I didn't expect them to do poorly, but the way they've played and the way they've gelled as a team over just 3 short games is very impressive to me. They've played well as a unit. They've played great situational hockey. If you look, their first and third games were very similar. They knew they were facing an inferior opponent, so they knew they could beat them by playing a skill-type game and a grind-out game. And then their game against Russia, they knew they could not get into a skill track meet with the Russians, and they locked it down. They blocked shots, played great defensive hockey, and most importantly, the biggest surprise for me with the Americans is their special teams. They've done great on the penalty kill and even better on the power play. When they played Russia the other day, I think they killed all but one of their penalties, and Russia only got 1 power play goal. On the other side, the Americans got 2 power play goals, both of which were huge goals at the time.
My question for you, Pat, really quickly. You mentioned Russia and United States game. A bit of a controversy. Who shot that puck? Was it?
It was Fedor Tutin.
Yeah.
Now, should it have counted? I mean,
by the literal interpretation of the rule, no. But in my opinion, it looked as if Quick knocked the net off, and
do you think he did it on purpose?
There's no way I can determine intent. I mean, there's been a couple guys from the LA Kings that have said he plays that way, but
Slava Voinov.
Speaking
of which, his own teammate that was playing for Russia. I mean,
how about there were, I think, a group of Russian fans that went to the
US Embassy today in Moscow.
I saw that tweet from AP Sports. They wanted to protest the outcome of the US-Russia game.
But here's my thing. That happened. First and foremost, that shot should have never even happened if by the literal rules if we're going to play. Mm-hmm. Because if Quick knocked the net off then, play should have been stopped as it was. So that shot would have never even happened. Whether he did it intentionally or not. I mean, if the referees want to determine he did it intentionally, give him a penalty for delay a game then.
Fair.
Then U.S. would have been shorthanded, but that shot would have never happened in the first place.
And we wouldn't have this whole controversy and immature sports fans protesting outside of a U.S. embassy. Like the government.
What do you want?
Talked about that last week. To the Russians,
it's life, man.
Yeah,
it's life.
And I don't know if there's a source for the quote, but pretty much Putin came out and said, "There's 1 gold medal in these Olympics that counts, and it is men's ice hockey."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If they don't win gold, can we get Evgeny Malkin back to Pittsburgh safely, please?
We snuck him out of Russia once. I think we can do it again.
I don't know about this. This is a whole different animal. He was a lot less known then than he is now.
Dan, who's your surprise team so far?
I got 2, and one of them's gonna make you nice and big-headed. First and yeah, that's true. Those hats can barely fit you as it is. Jeez. First one, yes, it's Finland, and it's simply because they've scored goals. But look what happened when they ran into Canada. Look what happened when they ran into a team that actually had goaltending.
Understandable, but at the same time, and I had this argument with Mike Gosnell. They should not have been in that game, but their defense was phenomenal.
The 2 goals that were given up by Rask were real soft. First one went right over top of his blocker, should have had it. Second one, 5-hole, hit his pads first and went through. I mean, they were two weak goals, period. But once they ran into a goaltender that was half decent, they couldn't score was the problem. So it makes me wonder. I think the matchup, if they get it with Russia, is going to be favorable for Finland. My problem's going to be if they run into Sweden in the semis.
So I think I know where you're going with this. I know Russia's loaded offensively. Defensively, they're question mark, and goaltending hasn't been great.
That's the
Is that where you're saying it could be favorable for Finland?
Yeah, I'm not saying Finland's going to win. I'm saying that's something that they are going to have to exploit, and they're going to have to attack instead of sit back and wait out every chance they get. And if they do that, they've still got to make sure they just capitalize then, because we've seen that goaltending for Russia has been okay.
Yeah.
Bobrovsky and Varlamov have been all right, but they're not on the caliber of Carey Price. They're not on the caliber of Hendrik Lundqvist. They're not on the caliber of Jonathan Quick or Ryan Miller.
Is it safe to say Sergei Bobrovsky is having nightmares in his sleep of TJ Oshie?
Yes and no, because his own team couldn't get it done to the point where that didn't keep happening over and over again for him. So, yeah, but probably. He's probably seeing him coming down the ice multiple times, and yeah.
I mean, let's put it this way, though. TJ Oshie did better in one shootout than some guys do in an entire NHL season, going 4 for 6. That said, though, of those 6 attempts, it looked like he had him beat on all of them. A couple of them, Bobrovsky either just got a piece of it or Oshie just missed.
Well, Oshie showed something to the rest of the National Hockey League, and that is that Sergei Bobrovsky needs to learn how to close the 5-hole. He went there multiple times, over and over again, and Bobrovsky didn't save a single one that he tried to go 5-hole. So, hey, a nice little hint to anybody else in the Metropolitan Division: if Bobrovsky's playing goal, make sure you try to go 5-hole.
I think it's a shame because there are some hockey fans. I mean, there are casual fans that are like, "Oh, who's this TJ Oshie guy?" But I think for us here in the room, it's like, we've known this guy's been very good. It just so happens he plays in St. Louis, which we don't really get. Yes, that was what I was getting to. But I think he's really stepped up in the Olympics. He's always been good, but that just put him on the national stage, as it should.
I think the other thing that kind of works against TJ Oshie is if you watch the St. Louis Blues as a hockey team, they're not a skill-type team. They are a workhorse type of hockey team. I looked up a stat of them the other day. I think their average shift length for just about everybody on the ice, defense and forward, 47, 48 seconds long. They go out, work hard for 47, 48 seconds to a minute, and get right off the ice. They don't take extended shifts. They are a hard-working, team-first type of hockey club.
And they're balanced. You're never going to see a guy playing for the St. Louis Blues lead the NHL in points. It's not going to happen. I know Alexander Steen was leading the league in goals at one point until he got a concussion, but we knew that would taper off because they're a balanced team. But Dan, you mentioned Finland. There's one guy I want to bring up. He's 19 years old. 19 years old, and he, 4 points already?
He's got 4.
I think he's like third in the Olympics in points.
For fourth.
Yes. No, he's not. Yeah, well, technically tied for 5th because there's 2 guys tied with 3 at third with 5 points. So he's technically tied for 5th, yeah.
19 years old. And there were questions, well, can he do it at the Olympic level? Well, clearly he can. And he's shown another dimension where his offensive game has really stepped up.
Well, did you see his quote after the Canada game? This is one of the things that really impressed me about Ole Mata is just his poise and his maturity. Did you see the way he said something to the effect of, we played really well, but I think we can go to a whole nother level defensively. They only gave up, 2 goals?
Yeah, 2 defensemen on the
2.
team that's loaded.
Yeah, against Canada, yeah, that's simple as it gets. Well, they gave up, what was it? They gave up, who was their first match?
Austria, wasn't it?
Yeah,
They beat them 6-1.
No, they beat them 8-4.
Oh, that's right.
Abner had the hat trick.
Yeah, that's right.
They gave up quite a few, and that was Rask again. And if I'm sitting there as Finland's head coach, I don't know if I go with Rask at this point in the qualification round. He gave up 4 against Austria, and he gave up 2 soft ones against Canada.
So are you saying go to...
I might be going back to Kari Lehtinen.
Or who was the other one I mentioned?
Niemi. Niemi's the third goaltender. He hasn't gotten a chance to play yet.
Antti Niemi's the third goaltender for Finland?
Kari Lehtinen played the second game that they had against Norway.
Wow. I would have went the other way. But Dan, who's your other surprise team?
My other surprise team that, and it's only because of the fact that they finished second in their group, is Switzerland. And it's interesting because this is a team that played 3 1-0 games and won 2 of them. So they're riding hot goaltending again.
Why don't you tell us who that goaltender is?
Mr. Jonas Hiller from the Anaheim Ducks. 2 shutouts. 2 shutouts in 2 games. Granted, they were against Nope. Backtrack.
Norway.
Backtrack.
Would have been Norway and...
Norway. No, it was
They beat Sweden. They lost to Sweden.
Czech Republic and Latvia. Sorry. Czech Republic and Latvia.
0-1 is impressive.
Yeah. The Czech Republic one was impressive. The one against Latvia is, it's Latvia, and the interesting thing is they get another matchup with Latvia in the qualification round.
They almost beat the best team in the Olympics.
But here's their problem too. They can't score goals. They only scored 1 goal against Latvia, and they only scored 1 goal against the Czech Republic.
3 games, 2 goals, right?
And they're a surprise team now, but I think this Latvian team can beat the Swiss.
That would make our assistant producer, Dimitri George, very happy.
My thing is, I don't think Jonas Hiller can... I'm questioning whether Jonas Hiller can stand on his head like he has for 3 straight games. I think if Switzerland... And unless Switzerland finds their offense, they could be in trouble against the Latvians. But if they beat the Latvians and Hiller plays like he has been, they pose an interesting matchup for the Canadians in the semis, or in the quarters.
Yeah, my surprise team, Pat, I'm going to go right with you. Honestly, I didn't pick the United States to even medal. I'm thoroughly impressed with them. I think they have a very balanced roster. They're getting great goaltending again. I thought it would be Ryan Miller, but Johnny Quick has been lights out. And that defense, there was a lot of question marks about that defense, and they've done great.
Real quick, there was a lot of talk about international ice and how it's a little bigger. Has that even really played a role?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Michael Grabner has...
Michael Grabner, the fastest man on the planet in skates, has lit it up. But in terms of the U.S. defense...
I was going to say U.S.
No, not really.
I think Brooks Orpik has done very well.
He's had a couple hiccups here and there, and I definitely was critical of him when we had our preview podcast about, how he would be on international ice. But all things considered, he has played pretty well. I mean, he hasn't been stellar, but he also hasn't been bad, which a guy like Brooks Orpik, that's all you ask. You don't ask him to be great. You ask him not to be. You ask him just to do his job and to be steady.
When you get consistency, that's what you're shooting for with Brooks Orpik. And to me, it's telling that they haven't dressed Justin Falk once.
They haven't really had a need to.
No, because Orpik, he's had a few hiccups. You're right, but he's consistent when you need to be. He was good against.
And when you're playing in a group that the United States played in for those 3 games, you handicap a guy a couple hiccups here and there all throughout the roster, because that was a very loaded group. And you play in a group like that, you're going to make a mistake here and there. Maybe not because you made the mistake, but because somebody outweighted you or made a good move or just made a better decision. And that will happen against better teams.
Here's the other thing, back to your open ice thing. Not only does Michael Grabner have 6 points, but he has 5 goals in 3 games.
That's an interesting guy to talk about.
Wasn't it, who was it? Drew Doughty? Doesn't he have 6?
He has 4 goals. He has 4 goals and 5 points.
So a lot of defensemen scoring?
There has been a lot of goals going in from the blue line.
Grabner's probably the fastest forward I've ever seen. I mean, I believe it was 2 years ago he won the skills competition. He was the fastest time ever.
The Islanders are wishing right now they could play on a bigger ice surface, because they might be better than what they are.
And that's a guy I want to talk about really quickly. I know it's sidetracking, but if the Islanders are smart, wouldn't you try and deal him for as much as you can get right now? Because is he really going to be doing a ton for a team that has so many other needs?
I think it depends upon where they value him in the franchise. Do they think he's a guy that they can keep going forward for the next decade or so, who will be a prominent piece to a potential Stanley Cup champion?
Well, what do you guys think? Yes or no?
Well, let's make this abundantly clear. John Tavares is not going anywhere, period. End of story.
No.
Thomas Vanek is going somewhere. He's gone before the trade deadline in the National Hockey League.
He might be gone when the rosters are unfrozen.
Very well could be, because he's not going to re-sign in New York, and they all know that. He's going to go somewhere where a team is contending. Grabner's an interesting situation, because do you give up a guy who has that raw speed, which is a rarity that you see in the NHL, but is he also being handcuffed by the fact that they're playing on a smaller ice surface?
I would say yeah. I mean, he doesn't have that room to use his speed, and we're seeing that in the Olympics. But hypothetically, what would be the top landing spot for him? This is just off the wall. I know you guys aren't prepared for this, but top landing spot.
Honestly, I think he stays where he is, because if you look back to last season, I know they're a different team now than they were when they played the Penguins in the opening round of the playoffs. The way New York is built on Long Island is to play a fast game, a quick game, quick transitions, quick in the defensive zone, quick in the neutral zone, and a lot of puck movement in the offensive zone. If you have a guy like Grabner, he's a pillar in that kind of that kind of offense and that kind of strategy. And I think if they think he can be a piece moving forward, I think if they value him with Tavares, I think they should keep him.
I've got an interesting spot for him, and I don't think they really have the chips to deal to get him is going to be their main problem. But they've got a lot of old legs, and they could use some youth and some speed. And they've also lost a big-time player for the rest of the year, most likely, and that is Detroit losing Hendrik Zetterberg, and they need another goal scorer desperately if they want to do any sort of contending in the Eastern Conference.
And they're great with those foreign players. The history of that organization with foreign players is outstanding.
I just don't know if they have the chips to get him right now.
They don't. If the Islanders are smart, they keep Grabner because he's.
Just I don't see them looking to move him. I mean, no. I got to agree with what he said. Detroit would be a great, probably ideal landing spot for him. But at this stage of the game, I just don't see the Islanders wanting to part.
I don't think there's a reason to, especially if they're going to build around him and Tavares.
My question now for you guys: I think we're all going to be equal on the most disappointing team so far. Mine is Team Russia. All this offensive firepower. They scored 1 goal against Slovakia? Mm-hmm. 1 goal in a shootout. With all that talent offensively, man, the pressure has to be high right now. Dan, you're shaking your head profusely. Who is your most disappointing team? You have 2 as well.
Again,
and it's 2 that are playing each other in the qualifications.
You are an overachiever. Go ahead.
2 that are playing each other in the qualifications: the Czechs and the Slovaks. The Slovaks they weren't expected to win the group. They weren't even really expected to get second, but to lose to a team who's never played an Olympic game in Slovenia. And get manhandled by Anže Kopitar? They have NHL talent on that team where Slovenia has 1 player.
You mentioned open ice. Well, Dimitri, you mentioned open ice. How bad does Zdeno Chara look in open ice right now?
Lord.
Awful.
He can't move. The dude's too big.
That's their captain.
He's too big. That's the only problem. And
well, that said, he has to be their captain. I mean, who else on that team are you going to make captain?
You're right.
But to your point, he has been atrocious.
But
the one photo to me that stands out from the tournament so far is Dustin Brown celebrating behind the net with, I believe it was, who assisted on his goal? Was it Ryan Kessler?
It's either Kessler or Kessel.
But Dustin Brown was celebrating behind the net, and Zdeno Chara's face was just priceless. He was just looking up like, what just happened? Where am I? Like, what is going on? Can I get back to the NHL now? But that's it. I mean, I see your point with Slovakia, but what about the Czechs, Dan?
They're okay. The biggest reason that they're an underachiever is because they lost to Switzerland 1-0.
They're also extremely old.
That was my point. I was just going to get at. That is their problem, and that's going to be what plagues them. And that's going to be the most intriguing matchup in the qualification round. It's going to be Slovakia and the Czech Republic because it's 2 teams that have underachieved to this point, playing against each other. 2 teams that a lot of people thought would end up at least in the quarterfinals. And now one of them is going to go home early.
I'm with you, Carney. Russia is my disappointment from preliminary. They played like a group of individuals and not like a team. And, I mean, you may say, that was to be expected. And I understand that. But given the magnitude of these Olympics, where they are, and what this means to their country, you can't have that happen. And as much as I'm surprised and impressed and happy with how well the United States have been playing, if I'm management, coaching staff, whatever for Russia, going to a shootout with the United States is beyond unacceptable. Not even to mention losing it. But that's unacceptable. And the other couple things I have to say about them is they got really frustrated really easily. Mm-hmm. And a tournament like this, you can't afford to get frustrated.
I think it's that pressure getting to them, and it's sad to say because, I mean, that team is loaded. There's no reason they shouldn't win gold.
Well, I'm telling you this much. If I'm any team playing Russia, if I'm Norway, I'm going to take a book, right? I'm going to take a chapter right out of the U.S.'s playbook. I throw everything at Alexander Radulov because if he's in the box,
he's a hothead.
There's a problem for Russia.
Yep.
Take everything you got, throw it right at him. Make runs at Radulov if you have to. If he's in the box, the other team seems like they're going to score every time. And he takes bad penalties.
That's why he's not in the NHL.
Exactly. Nashville. Good job, Nashville. Proud of you.
And the one head scratcher for me with Russia, more than anything, is Coach Billy Ledinov not putting Evgeny Malkin on his top power play in lieu of Radulov, a proven NHL guy who is great on the power play, on your second unit, over a guy who couldn't hack it in the NHL. Why?
I think the only reason that he has Radulov so high is because what Radulov is able to do in the KHL. But at the same time, Evgeny Malkin is a former MVP. I mean,
this is also his third Olympics.
Come on, like it's Evgeny Malkin. I'm not being a Pittsburgh homer there, but he's one of the best players in the world.
He's in his 20s and he's in his third Olympics.
Let's not get it wrong though. Alexander Radulov is an extremely talented player when his head is on right.
That's his biggest flaw. He doesn't have a head on his shoulders.
Nope.
Another individual from Russia that's getting ready to make a big jump is Evgeny Kuznetsov, who is a Washington Capitals prospect. It was announced the other day that he's going to jump to the NHL after the Olympics are over. And that, honestly, to me, this could be way overreacting. That could be the biggest acquisition.
It's something Washington needed desperately, if it's actually going to happen.
From everything I'm hearing, it's official. Well, it's not official yet because the rosters are frozen, but he has announced that he is going to jump to the NHL. He's ready. I think that has to do with Ovechkin being in his ear on Team Russia, like, hey, come on, I need your help.
I need another Russian with me, man.
But that could be the biggest acquisition, in a sense, at the deadline, because they're not giving up anything for him. He's just going to come over and play right away.
Kid's talented. The kid is very talented. He's a goal scorer. He plays. He can be a lot like Alexander Ovechkin in terms of putting the puck in the net, man. The kid is good. It's just a matter of, is he going to be able to make the adjustment quick enough to the NHL to have a really big effect this year?
That was the point I was going for. Is I'm interested. I mean, it's a great pickup, no doubt, because especially if they commit to him for more than just the rest of this season, which they should, and hopefully they will. But I'm interested to see how he adjusts to life in the NHL, and just the complete and utter culture shift.
I'm assuming that he's going to live with Ovechkin. I mean, he would have to, right? That's the only Russian on the team, I believe.
Yeah, Semen's gone, so I can't think of anybody else.
There might be some.
There might be a lesser-known Russian.
I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head right now, though.
But we've been talking about the very skilled players, and there are a lot in the Olympics. But one guy right now that's your favorite to be the Olympic MVP, the guy that's just been a huge standout to you, unexpected. Mine, I didn't expect Drew Doughty to have 4 goals in 3 games. I know his last 2 goals were very soft, but he still put the puck in the net, and he's really making a case for Olympic MVP, because I'm assuming Canada is going to make a deep run.
Yeah, there can't be any arguments with that at all. I mean, he's a defenseman scoring 4 goals in 3 games. That's an extreme rarity to see. I mean, granted, a couple of the teams they played didn't have very good goaltending, but he put 2 in the other day on Tuukka Rask, and I mean they were both soft, but he's in the right place at the right time. It's simple as that.
Who's your choice?
It's got to be Drew Doughty at this point. I don't think you can make an argument against it. If I were to say anybody else right this second, and they'd have to make a run, would be Jonas Hiller.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Michael Grabner.
No, because Austria's not going to go anywhere.
Okay, Pat.
I was afraid you guys read my notes and took all my choices. I got to go with Phil Kessel. He's been a linchpin for the United States. He's looked great through 3 games. He leads them in points. I'm pretty sure right now
He leads the Olympics in points. 7.
And to me, the biggest standout for me is just how comfortable he looks, which I think on a stage like this, under a microscope like this, your leaders have to be like that. They just have to look comfortable and go about their business and set that kind of example. And if we're going by the literal definition, most valuable player, you have to look at all aspects. And I think that is what Phil Kessel has been for the United States so far.
Phil Kessel's my favorite player in hockey. I know he's not a Penguin, but I love Phil Kessel's game. He's just the story behind him, too, where he beat cancer. Boston basically pushed him out, and he's fulfilled his potential, in my opinion, in Toronto. But what he's doing in the Olympics right now is just awesome to watch. The hat trick, I guess, was it Slovenia?
Natural hat trick.
Was just awesome. Granted, I didn't see it live because it was at 4:30 in the morning, and I was not getting up that early.
It was at
7:30. Come on, man.
What was the 4:30 game?
The 3 o'clock game was Austria-Norway.
Yeah.
Well, NBC was wrong on my phone because I saw 4:30 and I was like,
Pacific time.
oh man, I missed it.
Trust me, I got up in the hotel for that one.
You better have been up for the Russia game.
Yeah, I was up.
Okay, good boy.
No, I got up for the Canada-Finland game.
At least we don't have to send you to Siberia.
Ooh.
Who you sent to Siberia?
I'm not you apparently because you got up for the game. But I mean, if they don't win gold, they might send the rest of the players there.
Oh yeah, well, they could. That's Malkin. Please come home now. Who's your most disappointing player, real quick?
Send it to me.
Go ahead, go first. I went first last time.
Me and Carney were talking about this pre-show. It's not a player. It's a coach. I have to go with Mike Babcock. There's been a lot of chatter about Sid being frustrated, Kunitz not playing well, and all kinds of other storylines and excuses, if you will, about why Canada hasn't been dominant. In an uncharacteristic move by Mike Babcock, when things weren't going well, he panicked, shuffled lines, has continued to shuffle lines. I understand Crosby and Kunitz have established chemistry in Pittsburgh and play well together. But it's a line of three, not a line of two. All three have to work well as a unit. And he gave up what seemed almost instantaneously. And there's been no time for development.
My whole problem with Babcock is him choosing Marc-Edouard Vlasic over PK Subban. What? I mean, I remember on the preview podcast that I said my favorite player to watch, or my player to watch in these Olympics, was going to be Subban. He hasn't dressed. And they've picked Marc-Edouard Vlasic over him, and
He's dressed at least once or twice.
once, because the 2 games I watched from Canada, Vlasic was in there. Which he didn't look very good in the games. And there's a lot of chatter from Canadian websites like, what is Babcock doing? And he released a statement today saying, Mark is a good player. He's very technically sound. He's always in good positions. But PK Subban was the Norris Trophy winner last year. He won that for a reason. There's a reason Vlasic wasn't ever in that discussion. I think PK Subban not playing is a huge mistake, and I'm questioning Babcock.
And as much as, I like to get frustrated by PK Subban, on a stage like this, I really think he would thrive. He's one of those type of players that you put him in a big situation, and he shows up. Yep. I think you dress him in the Olympics, he shows up.
All right, I don't have one player.
Oh.
My most disappointing players is every Russian forward that is not named Pavel Datsyuk. Period.
That's fair. Well, that's very broad, but that's fair.
I mean, who else has done anything?
You're right. Okay. You're right.
Words I like to hear.
And it's a combination of a lot of things, though.
Yeah.
From some guys just not performing and some guys being underutilized, the Russian forwards as a unit have been underwhelming. Would probably be an improvement.
I think the problem with all these forwards is that they are used to being the man on their line. I think Ovechkin and Malkin, on paper, great pairing. But those 2 guys thrive with the puck on their sticks. You can't have 2 pucks on the ice at once.
I think the reason that Datsyuk has excelled so far in the Olympics is, out of the stars on that team, he's probably the most level-headed one.
Yeah, and he almost didn't play because he's been hurt. But, guys, I want to move on to the preview, of the seedings now and our picks. So, really quickly, Pat, I know you have it written out. Can you run down the matchups coming up?
Here are the matchups that I believe begin tomorrow. We have Slovenia versus Austria, Czech Republic versus Slovakia, Switzerland versus Latvia, and Russia versus Norway.
Picks?
I have Slovenia over Austria, Czech Republic over Slovakia, the Swiss over Latvia, and Russia over Norway.
I agree with you. I think I would pick Slovakia over Czech Republic just because I think the Czech Republic, they're old. So it can go either way, though.
I don't think youth is going to be served on that one. I just think age aside, I think there's just a little too much talent. I think I think they're just a little too overwhelming for the Slovaks.
I mean, that's gonna be the game of the qualification round right there. Everything else should. I mean, I'm not gonna say it won't be close, but everything else isn't gonna be anywhere near as good.
Yeah.
I agree with Pat on everyone except for one different. I think Austria beats Slovenia. I think they have more talent than the Slovenians do outside of Andrzej Kopitar. He's one of the best players in the world. But
One guy doesn't win a game.
the ice is tilted toward Michael Grabner right now, and it's going that way.
I think with Slovenia, and this is just a gut feeling, they got that beat the world mentality. You know, they're coming in with nothing to lose and everything to gain, and
Until they run into Sweden.
a team. Yeah, I mean, let's keep it in perspective here. This is one round. I think an attitude like that, nothing to lose, everything to gain. You know, they just come out and play, and I think they can pull it off.
I will say this too. Going into yesterday's Canada-Finland game, the U.S. was sitting in third place, and they were going to get third place as long as the Canada-Finland game was decided in regulation. Well, once that game went to overtime, that bumped the U.S. up to second place, and it gave them a much tougher road to the gold medal. Because I don't care what you say. I don't care what they've done so far. Neither Slovakia or a Czech Republic team is going to be a pushover. And I don't know about anybody else, but I wanted to avoid Canada till the gold medal game as much as possible. When you think about it in perspective, if the U.S. sits in third instead of second, that brings Sweden down on their side of the bracket. That pushes Canada back up to the top, Canada and or Finland. It puts them both back up on the 1-4 spots. And it makes them play the winner of Switzerland-Latvia in the quarterfinals instead of the winner of Czech Republic-Slovakia.
So you would sacrifice a tougher or an easier first game for facing Sweden?
I'd rather play Sweden than Canada.
Really?
Yes.
I got to disagree, Dan. I'm sorry.
You feel that way? I would rather play Sweden than Canada. So I don't care if they haven't had it all clicking. They still won their group. They still got 8 out of 9 points. They've won every single game.
So is the U.S.
They have, but they said Canada has so much firepower, man. It's scary, and Switzerland would be to me a much better matchup than Czech Republic or Slovakia. Yeah, they beat Slovakia 7-1 the first time, but that doesn't mean Slovakia is not going to somehow just turn it on and give the U.S. a run for their money.
So who do we have in the gold and bronze games?
I'm a lot switched up from last week, given the events of
Russia.
Yeah. Right now, my medal count is Sweden with the gold, United States with the silver, and Canada with the bronze. I think, like we said earlier, the pressure for Russia is just mounting, and they're starting to crumble. And that said, though, I have Canada and Russia in the bronze medal game, and I think Canada will prevail just because I think they got it a lot more together than Russia does.
I'm going to stick by my guns that I said originally. I'm still going to give Canada the gold, and I'm still going to give Russia the silver, and I'm still going to give the Swedes the bronze.
I do have to say, though, the one thing that hinders for me on all my picks is if Russia finally puts it together and plays like a team. And it hasn't been there for 60 minutes throughout preliminaries, but there have been spurts and little bits of that where Russia looks like they're playing as a unit, and when they do,
their offense looked good in their first game. Granted, it was only Slovenia, but it still looked good.
If these guys get it together, it's nightmarish.
I want to put Finland up in that medal count so bad.
Just stop it.
You know, they've looked good. Granted, the outlier out of that entire first round was the 8 goals in the first game. That put them at a plus 15 goal differential, which was one of the best in the Olympics.
Against an Austrian team who would do better with a broom in the net instead of a goaltender.
Isn't that called curling?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, who is their goaltender?
A curler.
It's not.
I don't know.
Okay, well,
It's not an NHL player, I'll tell you that.
you still got to beat them.
And as we saw through the events of the week, you know, this is why they play the game. The game is not played on paper.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Sweden, the United States. Oh man, the country above us could burn after this, but I'm gonna give Russia the bronze. I don't think Canada medals.
Please don't do that to Vancouver again. Don't let what happened in the Stanley Cup Finals against Boston happen to that country again, I don't
think-
know if they'll survive.
I don't think Canada would burn after this just because it's not on their soil.
Oh, I don't know, man.
I mean, they'll
It'd be scary if they didn't get a medal.
I think it might just be a little gray and disappointing up there. It might not be.
They might try and invade and take hockey away from us.
We might see the first war in Canadian history. They don't medal.
Babcock won't return.
I see it.
Yeah.
Fired. Take one out of your book.
Oh man, guys, we'll revisit this next Monday when we go over the Olympics in general.
Revisit it on Thursday after the quarters or qualification and quarters.
We could do that. We could do that. That's something we'll have to discuss.
Semis on Friday.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea to me. Anyway, that's going to do it for the Olympic hockey talk here on the Out of Bounds podcast. When we come back, Kyle Condor and Dimitri George will join us for some college basketball and maybe some All-Star Weekend recap if we have time. But for Dan Wallace and Pat Damp and Josh Carney, stay tuned after this break.
What's going on, everybody? It's Kyle Condor. Just letting you know the Out of Bounds podcast is brought to you by the Penn, IUP Student Voice, with music provided by Beats by the Passion. High five. Don't forget to holler at your boys on Twitter at TheOOBP, and you can also check out our podcasts at thepenn.org or on iTunes.
And welcome back into the Out of Bounds podcast. I am your host, Josh Carney. Dan Wallace still alongside me, but as I mentioned before the break, our assistant producer, Dimitri George, and one Kyle Condor have stepped into the booth. Fellas, how are you?
This damn Wi-Fi.
Holla.
This Wi-Fi.
This
won't
Wi-Fi
work.
does suck.
We look, and you know,
I blame the university.
one person in the back corner has not complained once
No.
about Wi-Fi.
Well, that's because I have a MacBook, and MacBooks are
We
awesome.
got HughesNet on this.
We
campus.
have a touchscreen laptop, a MacBook, and an iPad, and we're having problems.
He said this office has Dunkin' Donuts Wi-Fi,
Dunkin' Donuts Wi-Fi. There it is.
Walmart connection.
Wait a minute.
Did it
There's
disconnect you?
There's Dunkin' Donuts somewhere.
Speaking of which, this is going to have nothing to do with Dunkin' Donuts. But remember how last time you joined us for college basketball and you said he's never seen Miracle?
Did you make him watch it?
No, I picked it up at Walmart for $5. So,
So
I
if it-
watched it the night before the Olympics started.
So then, if it's worth $5, it can't be that great of a movie.
It was made in like
It's an older
2000.
movie, but if you picked it up for $5, movie night or nah.
Oh, I had it before that. Absolutely.
It's nah.
We're gonna sit there. No, we're gonna sit there one night and just run down the list of greatest sports movies and just watch them
Emphasis on the all or nah. Moving on.
anyway, I don't even know where to go. We're talking college basketball.
all. Kind of.
I don't have the content in front of me, but I know one of the
I can't get it because
HughesNet. The one game I remember seeing,
the right email for me, so I don't got it either.
the one game I remember seeing was Pitt, North Carolina. How about them Tar Heels? Yes, I like the Tar Heels. I always have. They were my first love. And they beat Pitt at their own game, in my opinion. James Michael McAdoo. Wow. Really? What's the score? Okay, it's early.
Florida State. Florida State. Does Jameis Winston play basketball too?
Probably.
Maybe. He might be the big guy in the middle that Dan and I were talking about with the broad shoulders.
Oh my god.
That
We were
dude's
talking about
huge.
this
He's a freak. He looks like the Mighty Joe Giant or whatever. The
No,
freaking-
no. You know what? Florida State picked up the dude from Gannon this week that put up 25 points when he averages 6.3 on IUP.
that's what it was.
We'll get to that at the end. But Pitt, North Carolina, with the loss, UNC won 75-71. Pitt has fallen out of the top 25, and rightfully so. What is the road ahead for these two teams? I think North Carolina, minus the score right now, are going in the right direction. They won 7 of 8 now. Pitt has been exposed in the last 2 games. Kyle, I'm sure you have something to add on that.
We all knew that Pitt wasn't that great, but I want to touch on something that I said prior to Wednesday night, the Wednesday night that Pitt and Syracuse played, which is also almost a week before Pitt played North Carolina. I said that before Wednesday night, going into Wednesday night, the Pitt-Syracuse matchup was bigger than Duke-UNC this year. I still think that night it was and would have been had Duke and North Carolina actually played. But now that Pitt has shown their true colors, they seem pretty awful to me. They seem like they're not even. They seem like a 9 seed, not even making it past the round of 32 type team. And now that UNC has finally figured it out, and Marcus Page and James McAdoo are finally on the same page. You see what I did there?
I like it.
I think they're ready for a ranking almost. I think they're the 7 losses. It's 7 losses for UNC, right?
Yeah.
There were a couple that were bad, but they still have big wins this year.
You gotta look at who they played their last few games though when they've gone in this run too.
Understandable.
Well, apparently Pitt was all the
I'm talking before Pitt. You got Notre Dame, Maryland, North Carolina State, Georgia Tech, and Clemson.
But they knocked off Louisville earlier in the year.
Yeah, this is
It's
earlier.
just the losses they've had have been bad. Well, they lost to Virginia, who's now 14, I think.
Virginia's a good team.
I said at the beginning of the year, Virginia was going to be. I picked them 3rd in the ACC.
They went on a bad run, and they've lost to teams that probably have people screaming, or UNC fans screaming, but
Can I get some internet?
I was upset.
I think UNC's point to be made here is that UNC, in my opinion, is ready for a ranking. I think they're now better than Pitt, but they weren't before Wednesday, or at least we didn't know before Wednesday. And
Let's just say they're trending in the wrong direction right now.
yeah, Pitt's going in the
I'm
wrong
talking
way.
about North Carolina.
Oh, well,
well,
currently.
'cause they're getting
Well,
smoked.
before tonight, or as of 5 o'clock tonight, which was 2 hours ago, North Carolina was headed nowhere but up, and Pitt is going down big time.
I want to talk about Marcus Page. I was saying to Kyle because we were watching the game, Jalen Rose-esque
Yeah.
Marcus Page. Remember I was telling you we were watching the game. I said Jalen Rose maybe lefty 5.
He's got the
Jump.
name.
I mean, I'll tell you what, his perimeter shooting ability, top notch. I do, however, sometimes he gets a little erratic, and when dribbles the ball too much, and I think he sometimes gets a little sloppy. But overall, I thought he facilitated. I thought he ran the floor well. I thought he was producing offensively. Like I said, I saw a little Jalen Rose. I mean, you can harp on me if you want, but I mean,
The beginning of the year, when Marcus Page was playing well, North Carolina beat teams like Michigan State, Kentucky, and Louisville. But that Miami game at home at Chapel Hill, he was 1 of 10, and without him on the outside, they couldn't do anything down low, and that's where his downfall was. And he had like 6 bad games in a row.
what we were looking up. What is he? 20% points higher shooting percentage was it from last year?
Marcus Page?
Yeah.
Dude, he shot like 35% from the field last year. I think he's at like
Here you go.
45.
43 this year, 35, rounded up 36 last year.
Yeah.
I think he needs to come back for one more year. I know North Carolina's bringing in the number 2 point guard in the country, Theo Pinson. But they need. I think Marcus Page needs to come back for one more year and keep working on his shooting game and his facilitating in terms of the half-court system, because sometimes he has a tendency to pick up his dribble.
Well, that's what I was trying to say. Like, sometimes he gets a little sloppy, but I want to talk about Pitt real quick.
No, well, hold on. Before we move on, can you imagine UNC with a Marcus Page and James McAdoo experience? Like, oh my God, next year it's going to be ridiculous if they come back. They're going to be top 10.
I think right now they have the number 6 recruiting class in the country. Yeah. They have the number 2 point guard, number 3 small forward, and I think it's the number 2 shooting guard, number 3 small forward, and number 1 point guard in Joel Berry. Yeah. Or no, number 2, because the guy at Duke.
Imagine these high schoolers that
Internet.
you're talking about
Work.
alongside Marcus Page and James McAdoo.
Oh, scary.
My thing is, I don't know if McAdoo's coming back.
I want to talk
Doubt
about
it.
Pitt.
Yeah.
What was I don't have FuseNet on my iPad right now, so I can't look at the numbers.
Come on, dude.
What was Lamar Patterson's final
I
line?
think he was 5 of 18.
Give me a second.
I mean,
Two
we've
games.
already talked about this numerous times that if you're talking about Pitt, it's Lamar Patterson.
Patterson's
or,
line: 24 minutes, 5 for 15 from the field. with 16 points, 4 steals, 2 blocks, 4 rebounds.
Well, you want to
Chucks. And he
Three.
went
Carney,
3 for 9 from 3.
you're taking my thunder. We already talk about the fact that if he's not able to produce on the offensive end, that Pitt's in trouble. Well, in this situation, he also got into foul trouble, which limited his minutes because obviously that's why you asked it. He only played 24 minutes. So if he gets in, you're a host, not I'm supposed to be the analytical guy over here. But anyways, Lamar Patterson.
Good job of facilitating, am I?
Not at the moment.
Buy it.
But like I said, if he's not producing offensively, you have a problem for Pitt. And like we saw on Saturday, if he gets into foul trouble, they're in trouble.
I thought James Robinson had a really good game, but still, the whole thing with Pitt, not having Duran Johnson off the bench is a major problem for them. I mentioned in the last podcast, in the final 41 minutes of the season that he played, he had 28 points and was their best perimeter shooter. There are a lot of people in this area that think that wasn't a substantial loss. If you don't think Duran Johnson was a substantial loss for Pitt, you're sorely mistaken. And people want to say, oh, imagine if Steven Adams came back. No, I can't because he left. Okay? Don't make excuses for why he's gone, why the team is not as good as they should be.
I'm surprised with how he's doing in the NBA, too.
Here's the thing, though, for Pitt.
He's balling.
Pitt
That's what I said. I'm surprised.
Pitt has a relatively easy schedule going down the stretch now. That's their thing. Their only real interesting matchup left is with Florida State. After that, they get Boston College, Notre Dame, North Carolina State, and Clemson to close out the season. But
So they can end on a little bit of a run.
Well, they can, but they've lost their last 2 games, but they haven't looked good in their last 6 games. I mean, they lost to Duke and Virginia before that, and the 2 wins in between that were overtime and double overtime wins over Miami and Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I guarantee
we're talking about Pitt.
they lose 2 of those.
All of them.
I guarantee they lose 2 of those.
Boston College?
Potentially.
Olivia Hamlin is a beast.
Yeah, I'm not
Potentially.
saying
Why
that.
not
I
NC
just-
State?
They almost lost-
NC State just gave
Yeah,
Syracuse. a
TJ
run.
Warren would put the works on Lamar Patterson.
I think it's pushing it to say they're going to lose more than 1 more with the schedule that they have.
Let me ask you this.
You don't think they're going to lose 1 more?
No, I think they are going to lose.
Oh,
one
You say more than one
more
more?
than 1 more.
Let me ask you this. Speaking of a team in the ACC before we move on, does Syracuse lose a game the rest of the year? I think 1 game, and it's Duke. I think they lose Saturday.
It'd be hard to go into Cameron Indoor, man.
I think they go to Virginia and beat them.
But
Duke,
hold on.
Duke is excited. They're number 5 now.
I know. But
is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's not fair.
Yeah, but the problem right now with the rankings
we're gonna
is
put
who else is going to be there.
Who else is going to put there? Duke has with the rescheduling now. They got to play North Carolina on Thursday and then Syracuse on Saturday.
Oh, man.
That's a good week. How you doing?
For Duke fans.
How you
dude.
doing?
At
Good week for me, too.
We got Syracuse at Duke, at Virginia, at Maryland.
and at Florida State.
Maryland gave
at
Duke
Florida
a run for the
State.
money too.
Oh, that big dude's going to go ham on Syracuse. They cannot do anything down low.
He's going to go
From
what?
Florida State.
Wait,
Ham.
time out. We're gonna stop this first. He's going to go what?
Ham. It's,
Hard as a bleep
Okay.
on
Okay.
on
Is that really what it stands
Syracuse.
for? I never knew that.
Hey, I'm getting hungry. That's all I'm saying.
I see. There are some people that say Syracuse can lose 2 or 3 down the stretch. I see 1 game, and that's this Saturday against Duke. Virginia, good team. Very good team. I picked them 3rd in the ACC in the beginning of the year. But I don't think they have the firepower or the tenacity, in a sense, the offensive smarts, in a sense, to beat that 2-3 zone. They're a spotty outside shooting team. You take away Joe Harris, who's going to knock down threes for that team?
And nobody really knocks down threes against Syracuse. That defense is ridiculous.
Barely beat NC State. I understand, okay? The point is, though, they're a veteran team. They've played in close games all year long, and they've always gotten it done.
Let's say this. The game against Syracuse on Saturday. More of an instant classic than the one
Yes.
up at the Carrier Dome or no?
Yes.
Better game than that.
Hopefully Jabari, Rodney Hood, Emil Jefferson, guys like that can stay on the floor.
Sorry, WIPFM. I'm calling it quits.
I think that Duke is going to get the home calls. So they're not going to have those star players in foul trouble. Syracuse is a smart team. They don't foul that often. Hopefully, Musa Keita's back for that game because Syracuse is just running. Boeheim is running his team down, playing only 6-man rotation. But I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be another instant classic. It could be better than the other one. Oh my God. I know. That's tough to say, but anyway, another team we were going to talk about was Michigan State losing to Nebraska.
Nebraska is not as bad as people want to think they are this year. Bubble.
That's a bad loss.
Bubble.
Right now. They're bubble right now.
I still think when healthy, Michigan State's the best team in the country.
That's the problem. They're never healthy.
They will be. They're getting.
Oh, when they get
Oh no, I'm not saying that they're
running to the
fully,
Final Four still, son.
When they're fully healthy, there's no doubt. But but can they just, when they all get healthy, can they just all get back and click together like that?
Oh yeah, this team's
They're all
veteran.
seniors,
Yeah, this is
yeah.
a veteran team, man.
They're all seniors. There's no Tyler Ennis. There's no freshmen. They're ready to go.
They'll click.
I mean,
But
look at Keith Appling, who just came back and had 2 points.
He had his minutes limited though. He wasn't playing for long stretches. I think he played 24 total, but it was like 3 minutes here, 2 minutes off, 3 minutes again. It's tough to get going.
Going into the Big Ten tournament, they still have a pretty tough schedule. They got Purdue, but after that they got Michigan, and then they got an easy one against Illinois. Let's not get anything wrong about
Iowa.
that. And before they got to play Iowa and Ohio State to end the season.
Is that game at Iowa or in East Lansing?
It is in East Lansing.
Okay. What about the Michigan game? Is that in East Lansing?
Game is,
No, that's at the Chrysler Center or Chrysler Dome in Michigan.
yeah, and then they got to go to Columbus too.
Oh boy.
No, they're in trouble. I sincerely owe Michigan State an apology, because
Hype
it
them up.
seems as if whatever
They appreciate it.
whatever I predict long term, that team just falls apart. Like I owe apologies to every player that's gotten hurt individually, because it's my fault.
Why don't you do this now? Just write them off completely so they can turn around and you look like a genius in the end.
Yes, I think that the entire team is going to keep getting hurt. They have no
Just cursed them.
chance.
Good job.
They have no chance at anything. They might end up in the NIT tournament with losses for the rest of the season.
I want to let all the listeners
No,
know that he's joking.
No, I'm not joking. I'm trying to help them. I'm trying to help them. Yes. So, seriously though, in all seriousness, we touched on the game when they played Iowa on one of the first episodes of the podcast, and that was the game that they won in overtime in Michigan, at Michigan. So if they could only knock off Iowa by 2 in overtime at Michigan, they're going to have a lot of trouble beating that team in Iowa, especially since I don't even know what stadium Iowa plays in. But
Well, Iowa comes to East Lansing.
no.
So, yeah, Iowa comes to East Lansing.
Oh, the overtime game was at Iowa.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying. Okay.
No, I was wrong. But yeah.
71-69?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's going to be tough to beat Iowa. Michigan's good if Stauskas gets hot. They're tough to beat regardless. And then same with Ohio State. They have plenty of players to go.
Speaking of getting hot, Kyle, you're going to love this segment. Dougie Fresh, Doug McDermott. 39 points last night against the team you love in the Villanova Wildcats. They beat them 101-82. Again. So I'm going to take back what I said earlier in the semester on this podcast, that I'm going to write off the game where Creighton hit 21 threes, because they put up 100 points again on a very good Villanova team. Doug McDermott, just hand him the player of the year right now, although I think Shabazz Napier deserves a mention in that.
I could have sworn no one mentioned Craig McDermott when we had that. What did I just call him? Doug McDermott? Craig? What the hell? What am I talking
his
about?
dad's
What the
name
hell am I
Craig?
talking
His
about?
dad's name is Greg.
Greg, that's what
There
it is.
you
Greg.
Go ahead.
Craig.
Doug
Greg,
McDermott
whatever.
wasn't even mentioned when you said give us your top 5.
No, I came right out,
yeah, I'm saying
obviously.
the initial list was not mentioned.
No, but, Doug McDermott will probably friggin' fall off the face of the earth in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, because
He
you
would-
had to say
Because
something
I
about him.
predicted it.
What he
yeah.
had 39 last night, right?
He's a beast, dude. There's no stopping that guy. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, but
Question-
do you believe in Creighton as a team?
And the other thing is,
Yeah, dude.
the other
What are
thing
they? A
is,
Sweet 16 team?
That point guard's a baller. Dude with the wristbands.
Dan, you don't think they're a Sweet 16 team?
I don't know, but the thing is, does McDermott turn into another Jimmer Fredette in the NBA?
Yeah. Well, he's not going to be that good in the NBA because his playing style
Go
revolves
to
around.
Boston then. Like you
revolves
always
ar-
talk
yeah,
about.
we've talked about this. It revolves around him moving without the ball, and that doesn't happen in the NBA.
I don't think that. I think Doug McDermott is a great
But it's
player
not his game.
in college.
It's too big for that anyway.
Yeah.
But there are times where I feel like he gets the ball and just chucks. There's times I feel like it. There's
No.
times where he gets the ball.
What game were you watching?
Last night, I mean, I turned it for 2 seconds.
Yeah, he scored 39.
Yes,
you can chuck
but-
all you want. Keep him coming.
Yeah, but that's not going to work in the tournament.
Sure it will. They played Villanova. That's going to be like a 2 seed.
That's why I was saying his game can translate to the NBA. Run down the court, spot up.
Not really. That's not what he did. I don't know what game Dimitri was watching, but that is not how he scored his points.
I'm not saying that's how he played last night.
He never plays like that.
But there was also one guy that played at Creighton before him that was very similar to Doug McDermott and now holds the record for most threes consecutive. Kyle Korver went to Creighton.
They don't play the same at all.
I understand that, but I'm saying Dougie McDermott is skilled enough from beyond the arc that he can do whatever he needs to do to translate into the NBA. He's not going to be the most physical, the most athletic.
He doesn't have range. He doesn't take NBA threes in college. He could be like a.
Yo.
I'm not saying he could be like a Kevin Garnett because there's no way. But he takes that long. He'll take that long mid range in the NBA.
What do you got?
It's not gonna be a shooter.
What are you talking about? That got a lot of great scores in college. Morrison, Reddick, guys like this.
What a joke.
You have to be able to play defense in the NBA, or you cannot play. That's why Adam Morrison was.
Adam Morrison's the funniest draft pick possibly in NBA history.
Like JJ Redick has been able to make a career for himself in the NBA, and now he's with the Clippers because he realized that in order for him to stay in the league, he has to play defense. If Doug McDermott could play,
he's a defensive.
I'm not saying McDermott's going to go out and have the highest three-point shooting percentage in the NBA or win three-point shooting contests, but I think he's skilled enough and is knowledgeable in the X's and O's of basketball that he can make it work. He's not going to be a star player, but I think he can carve out a sixth-man role player rotation role with a contending team. Don't get me wrong. I would love for him to go in the NBA and do what he's doing in college right now. It's just not going to happen. Granted, last night he passed Larry Bird. First, I think he's now 17th in the all-time scoring in the NCAA, which is no small feat because Larry Bird was great at Indiana State. But I'm handing him the Player of the Year right now.
Have to. You said Shabazz Napier. Give me a break.
Mention without Shabazz Napier, UConn is
gone off the face of the earth.
Kevin Ollie.
He's dirt. Like Shabazz Napier is
Kevin Ollie.
disgusting. Like he might make the All-American team. He might.
He won't make the NBA though. I think he's
Who?
Shabazz Napier.
That is an NBA player.
You think?
Yes, he's a street baller. He just chucks. He just lets him fly. It's like, dude, stop.
Saying he's not going to go in the NBA and be a star. He's gonna remind me of someone like an Earl Watson or a
That's fine. Reggie Jackson maybe.
Ish Smith. I mean, a guy that's not going to be great.
I didn't say he was going to be a superstar.
I love Shabazz Napier though. I mean, that game against Memphis was unreal.
6 foot, dude. Shabazz Napier is 6 feet tall. His sky is like. Shoot, like he's good. This guy is good. I don't even know. He has potential to be like a. I don't want to get ahead of myself, so I'm afraid to say what I'm going to say next. But like,
Just say it. We're very bold on this podcast. That's why it's the
We're
Out of
too
Bounds
bold.
podcast.
We're too bold.
I know my internet won't work.
shoot.
Comparison right now, Kyle. I need it.
What are we talking about?
Shabazz Napier.
Shabazz Napier's who he can be like in the NBA. My God, man, he's good. I don't know. He's his own player, really. He's not as tall as Derrick Rose, so he's not going to be dunking like that. He's not as good at passing as Chris Paul is. But he can shoot. He's quick. He can rebound. He leads UConn in rebounding, and they have that guy.
It's college. He ain't gonna do it in the NBA.
They have that guy Breimer out there who's like a freaking human tree.
Yeah, but Devontae Chance is also second in rebounding on this team here at IUP, and he's 5'10".
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, but
How
that's
nice for
D2.
basketball.
I don't know. Shabazz Napier can maybe be a little less of a Derrick Rose.
Okay,
He's a baller.
that's fair. Dan, I'm gonna now direct this segment at you.
Here we go.
You called the men's game Saturday night. I don't even really want to touch on the women because to me they let a great opportunity slip by.
They play better than the men did.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, but the Silent Night thing was stupid.
Oh yeah.
But Dan, you were there. What happened with this team?
He was on the sideline yelling about how stupid the Silent Night was before it ended. I could hear him in my microphone sitting at the media table screaming about how stupid the Silent Night was.
Really?
He was furious.
And I think his players were in their minds were like, all right, I got to get these 10 points, and they're like, it took them 10 minutes for them to get 10
Listen,
points.
let's not blame it.
No.
on the silent night. Though.
No,
I
I'm
mean,
not blaming. I'm just saying I think that affected the players a little bit in the beginning because
Well,
not because it was silent, but because they were so trying to get that 10th point that it took
Well,
them 10 minutes to get 10 points.
They started the game 0 for 5. There's problem number 1. Problem number 2 is another trend continued as it has all season long.
Big body down low, holla at your boy.
Mm-hmm.
Maurice Lewis-Briggs, a.k.a. New Gannon, dude.
Debo?
Yeah, seriously. HughesNet, like I said, I don't know what his name is. Number 24 came off the bench
Rosario
and was
Livramento.
doing work.
I mean,
Excuse me?
Rosario Livramento out of Central Falls, Rhode Island.
What happened to the other dude I was telling you about on the radio? 32. What'd he do? Porter.
Darius Porter? Nothing.
What?
All they did the entire game, all Gannon did, was feed the ball down to Rosario Livramento on the low block, let him take 2 dribbles, back down Suburbiel, back down Cottrell, back down Jeffers, whoever was on him. All he did was get himself right underneath the basket, boop, just drop it in. 25 points. Kid averages 6.3 a game.
Solid.
Yep. Same trend as always. Every game that IUP has lost this year or had an issue with the team, they've been dominated down low by a guy who can just simply outmuscle the other the IUP players on the low block. Simple as that.
Do you think IUP has a reasonable shot at getting their 5th PSAC championship in 6 years?
Yes.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
What if they run into a team again like Gannon?
Here's the deal now.
Wait, I'm sorry. Before we get into that, Dan, explain to me. All right, so first of all, I know last year the PSAC tournament was here.
Yes.
That's not happening?
No, it's out it will be, no matter what, it will be out in the East.
Okay. Now, in terms of IUP, who does it look like they're going to play, or is there still a lot to be figured out?
There's still a lot to be figured out. Right now, this team sits in second with a 10-3 conference record.
But Gannon wasn't Gannon.
Gannon is now 11-3.
Gannon's first.
They are sitting in first in the PSAC West. Gannon holds the tiebreaker with 2 wins over IUP.
Oh yeah, say it.
If the only way IUP can get back to that first place spot is if they win out and Gannon loses 1 game. Gannon's last 2 games,
Pitt Johnstown.
and Clarion.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Pitt Johnstown has to pull off a miracle because I put no faith in Clarion. Other problem, though, they have a Mercyhurst Lakers team coming in here on Wednesday who's sitting currently in 3rd place.
It's a blackout.
And has the same record as the Crimson Hawks at 10-3. So if IUP loses this one, they drop down to 3rd and don't get that bye.
Oh, boy.
Problems. I don't want to see Lombardi's locker room after that one if they do lose, but I also don't want to be Mercyhurst because this team's going to come out with a vengeance on Wednesday.
Now, I'm not speculating. I'm not starting anything, but we just had Matisse on, and I was hearing that he was a little gimpy on Saturday. A little bit of a calf problem, I'm hearing.
You don't think it was because he was sitting in the chair for too long, do you?
I don't.
We're never going to get an athlete again.
I've heard that he was a little gimpy, and that when he came out of halftime, he was really stretching it out, getting ice, and he was a little affected by it because Jesse Bosnick got, I think, some extended playing time.
Not really. Bosnick didn't. He actually didn't hit his average in minutes on Saturday. Matisse looked okay running up and down the floor. If anything, if there was any problem, it was on his jump shot, and that might be where it affected him. He had 10 points.
Do you think he was more of a decoy in the second half? If he was
The ball went through Marcel in the second half.
Who also, I thought, was struggling in the first half.
He struggled in the first half, but Marcel still ended the game with 16.
How many shots did he take?
I don't know.
Had to
He
be
shot
15.
He shot under 15%.
Had to be like 15 times.
He shot the ball 11 times. 6 for
6 of
11.
11.
So he wasn't under 50.
That's great.
Six,
That's
no,
great.
6 of 11 is
I
not
thought
bad.
he was way off.
Matisse was 4 of 12.
How many threes?
5 of 9.
Oh, well, that's
Sheesh.
where all the points are.
Yeah, exactly. That's where all his points are. Matisse had 10 points. He was 4 of 12 from the field.
But that's
Wait a minute. Backtrack. If Marcel had 5 of 9, but 6 of 11 from the field.
21 points he actually ended up with because he had a bank 3 at the very end of the game
Yeah.
with 0.9 seconds left that gave him that extra.
and then Lombardi called a timeout.
Yeah, and then Lombardi called a timeout just to simply chew his players out before he got into the locker room.
Did he really? You heard him?
Oh, yeah. Dude, he was screaming.
Nice.
He was livid.
Kyle?
I'm going to give my take on what their problem is. And I look at it from like a coach's standpoint. For those of you who don't know, I coach. It's at a youth level, but
You're
you still look at it all the time. It's like your major in school. You're always looking for stuff like that in real life. So I watch this team, and it seems as if whenever they sub someone in, whenever it's not the starting 5, organization on the floor becomes a problem. You see guys like Jesse Bosnick like breathing down Devontae Chance's neck when neither of them have the ball, standing right next to each other. That's a huge problem. You go from a team that has now 5 guys on the court to 4, because when 2 guys are right next to each other, that's how it seems.
Spacing.
It's a spacing problem with this team, and I've noticed it since the first time I've watched them play.
See, I'm not gonna say that though at this point because Bosnick. Here's the thing.
No, that wasn't a shot at Bosnick. I just
not.
named
I
the
know
bench
it's not.
player.
But here's the thing with these guys. The guys they have coming off the bench, mainly it's Bosnick and it's Yard.
That's it.
Those are
But I don't think it's good.
and Cottrell. And Cottrell comes off the bench.
Yeah, no.
They-
And then they come in, they don't look lost at all, but it seems like they don't fit in or something.
Here's the thing. Cottrell leads this team in blocks.
That's
Bosnick
that
is
has
a
nothing to do with
defensive-
offense.
Bosnick is a defensive stud.
That
He
is
takes
no-
every. I'm getting there. Bosnick's a defensive stud. He's if I were to put a count on it, he's probably taken close to 15, 16 charges this entire season. When it comes to the offensive side of the ball, all Bosnick does is he goes from corner to corner.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
He just runs
Simple-
around
and that's
aimlessly.
he's not running around aimlessly. That's
how it
simply
looks.
what he does. He goes corner to corner. He's a shooter. He's not a guy that's going to go inside the paint and pull down every single board that's there.
He looks like he should be though, based off his build. He's got broad shoulders.
He's not that
don't
tall
know.
though. Is his
I
thing.
see him at the top of the key a lot, and that's why I said him and Devontae Chance get balled up. But that wasn't a shot at Jesse Bosnick. It's just like it seems like whenever
And-
there's a core out there that aren't used to playing with each other, new guys like Bosnick and
My thing
even
is,
Brandon Norfleet, who just joined the team this year, it looks like they have spacing problems.
I think to me they have one bad game. It's as simple as that with this team. They got one bad problem, and that was the fact they got dominated down low again. And yeah, when Norfleet came into this team, he was a little lost because he didn't know this system yet.
because he was a ball stopper, what they call it.
Mhm.
He
He
was
was
the guy that had the ball in his hand.
exactly at Cheney. He was the only one that could score, and he also came into this team late because he was ineligible for a while to play, coming from the transfer from Cheney. So it took him a while to get used to this system. These other guys have been here since day one. They know their role. Bosnick knows he's a defensive player.
Yeah.
He knows he's out there when he's on offense. He's filling space, and that's why he's in the corners. Cottrell, all he does is he goes straight to the low block, and he's going to swat anything that comes near him.
Oh, try
No,
to.
Yeah,
I'm
at
glad
least.
you brought up Northfleet. I thought he struggled.
Oh, he had
got-
three, he had
got
three
in-
fouls in the
yeah,
first 5 minutes.
Yeah, he got into foul trouble real early. And I haven't really seen him shoot the ball a lot.
He's not a shooter,
He
it's
seems
his
like a
thing.
slasher to
He
me.
is. He is. He's a guy that's going to take the ball to the hoop every chance he gets. He's not going to stand around the perimeter and shoot it. And
You were calling for timeout there.
Can I say
What was
that?
your?
the reason Norfleet, and I'm not going to make any excuses here, he had 2 fouls that were way away from the basket.
Frustration?
No, the officials, and they did it both ways. This is a game that was for first place in the PSAC. They called every single touch.
Yeah, you
Both
gotta let
teams
it
were
play.
at 7 fouls in the first half at the 10-minute mark.
That's bad.
But then in the second half, they turned it around and didn't call anything.
So opposite of the Pitt Syracuse game from last Wednesday.
Exactly. They let them play in the second half, but it took the players the time to get adjusted to the fact that they weren't calling every little touch anymore.
Okay.
I'm not going to blame it on that because they called it the same for both teams at least. But it was just
Looking ahead now, you mentioned Mercyhurst comes in Wednesday night. Saturday they play who?
Edinburgh,
And then next Wednesday they travel to Slippery Rock.
and that's their final 3 regular seasons of the year.
I see 2 potential losses, maybe even a third on the road at home against Edinburgh.
They're home on Edinburgh on Saturday.
But
that's senior.
the only reason I'm looking at that as a potential loss is because
Brian Terry.
yes, big men have dominated IUP. Edinburgh has a big guy.
Here's the difference. Edinburgh has nobody else.
You're right.
All these teams that they've lost to, all these teams that they've been dominated inside by, they've had other options. They shut down Adam Blazek the other night.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything. He's a 1,000-point scorer, and he's a junior.
Yeah.
They shut him down. They shut down a Darius Porter, who's one of their leading scorers as well, second behind Blazek. The problem they run into is when they have these teams that have big guys that have other options.
Yeah.
Because all they're going to do with Brian Terrio when he gets down on the low block is collapse 2 to 3 guys on him, and he has no other options to score. The kid averages 19.5 a game. They have no other scoring options. Nobody can shoot from the outside on that Edinburgh team. Their outside shooting percentage is like in the 20s.
You never know though. Guy can get hot.
Well, exactly. You can never say that, but all they're going to do is collapse him down on the low block. He's going to get trapped down on the baseline, and he's going to have no options to do anywhere to go with the ball, and that's what they did the first time with him. He scored 6 points in the first time the IUP in Edinburgh played.
Well, I'm sure we will get back to this Thursday, reviewing the Mercyhurst game. But can we set something up to where we start doing baseball previews division by division? Because I can't stand looking at all these photos of spring training, and I'm just like, baseball. We got to start it soon. Maybe next week we'll start it.
Are we going to have a live podcast during opening day with a bunch of TVs around?
We might do one directly after. So we might be up late that night doing a recap of opening day games.
I'm going to be up early tomorrow morning, that's all I'm saying.
4.
Watching hockey. 7:30 in the morning, son.
I got an exam, so probably won't be up. But we're going to have to try and get into baseball.
How we usually go around at the end, give our final say on the day?
I have final
Go
takes.
ahead.
Am I popping it off?
Yeah, pop it off.
Louis Delmas visited the Steelers.
I knew you were going to go there.
He could not go the whole show without saying Steelers.
Nope, of course not.
I would be very surprised if he is signed. He was simply brought in to just, kick the tires on him. He has had serious injury problems. His knee is degenerate. Is that the right word to use? He's got
What
that's
safety
probably
position
not
does he
degenerate.
take?
I mean, I don't think he's a degenerate.
He would replace Ryan Clark. But I also
the media man.
Yeah, and did you guys see Ryan Clark's tweet? He said that after the reports came out, Louis Delmas visited.
Wishing the best for him.
Yeah. But I don't think that he will be signed.
Clark's gone.
That just means that Clark's gone. Louis Delmas, I don't think will be signed.
I heard today Polamalu and Woodley are likely to restructure. Clark was going to walk.
What's the tweet?
He said after the reports came out that Louis Delmas visited the Steelers today, Ryan Clark tweeted, "I just texted with Louis Delmas. Love his game. I think he'll be a great fit for LeBeau and the Steelers. Push them best."
This is me.
All right, say it.
This is my thinking really quickly. Kick the tires on him, bring him in 1 year deal, but draft a safety in the first 3 rounds. Okay, a guy who's skilled. Say a Calvin Pryor falls to the second.
The problem is they got Shamarko, is not a free safety, and that's what Ryan Clark is, and that's who's leaving.
Draft Jordan Lynch in the first 3 rounds too.
Oh, good Lord.
Shamarko's playing strong safety. They need a free safety.
Wait.
What?
Did you hear what he
Dan's
said?
looking at me right now.
Jordan Lynch?
What about him? What do you guys have to say? Why not?
Oh boy.
Really quickly.
Give your parting shot, Kyle. We don't want to talk about Jordan Lynch. He ain't going to the Steelers. You're nuts.
You guys are rebuilding. Face it.
He's gonna be
Rebuilding with what? We don't want. No, okay, I'm done.
You're
I'm done.
rebuilding.
I quit. No, we don't want a glorified Tim Tebow.
Glorified
Not
Tim
glorified,
Tebow.
under-glorified.
Jordan Lynch is huge.
Underglorified Tim Tebow who will be willing to change.
Jordan Lynch
positions.
is Ben Roethlisberger with wheels.
What? Wait, whoa, time out.
We're going to have to continue this after the podcast because there's going to be some choice words I can't use. No. He won't play quarterback in the NFL.
Parting shots, Kyle. Come on.
Get out.
I said let him learn. Does he start next year? No, but let's go old school. Let's do what the Packers did with Aaron Rodgers when they were rebuilding.
I knew we couldn't go the whole podcast without mentioning the Packers.
Okay,
I don't
we got one
mention
that can't
the
go. Okay.
I don't mention the Packers as faithfully as Dimitri does the Steelers, but like
It's a parting shot.
it's time for
News
the
of the
Steelers
day.
to rebuild.
We're not rebuilding.
You should.
You own the Steelers.
You're not
They're not rebuilding.
You're not a playoff team right now, nor will you be next year, or were you this year? Like your run is over.
Who is this we crap?
Who? Steelers or Dimitri's we?
Oh no.
And
Don't you know
they're
Dimitri's a part-time owner?
I did take me to a couple games on this year. I didn't know you were a part-time owner.
Let me sit in the
I'm a
box.
part-time
seriously.
owner of the Packers.
Well, yeah, because you buy stocks for those guys.
So anyway, the Steelers are rebuilding.
That's your parting shot.
There you go.
That was your parting shot?
Why
Wait
not?
till
So why are we
That
going to
wasn't-
Jordan Lynch?
That was
Wait till football season comes around. Oh my Lord, Kyle.
And we're gonna be sitting here talking about how the Steelers are the worst team in the
Well,
AFC North.
I won't be here for that.
Most likely.
I'll call it.
Goodness. Do you hear
Wait, we
this
take calls on the
nonsense?
podcast?
We're going to.
The Steelers are
Le'Veon
most,
Bell is better than Eddie Lacy. End of story, bro.
but who's got something to show?
Okay, personal boys.
Who's got something to show for how good they are? Eddie Lacy
This
does.
is a topic for another day. Dan, your parting shot.
Roy, Eddie Lacy. Say it.
Dan, your parting shot. That's your parting shot? Okay, perfect. I mentioned the baseball preview. We are going to have Tim Quigley join us by phone, and will discuss baseball with us.
Wait, no one told me that we're doing stuff by phone.
I told you this a few weeks ago. I mentioned it. I mentioned it. He knows I mentioned it. We'll get it. We'll get it. But yeah, baseball season's coming up, so we got to start getting on that.
I gotta eat.
41 days, my friends. 41 days.
I gotta eat.
You got to eat
I gotta eat.
right now?
Gotta eat. Potato sticks. I gotta eat.
I'm hungry too.
Well, we're getting the wrap it up sign. Yeesh. All right. This was the 8th episode of the Out of Bounds podcast for Dan Wallace, Kyle Condor, assistant producers Adam Clapp and Dimitri George. I'm your host, Josh Carney, signing out.
All right, see ya.
What's going on, everybody? It's Kyle Condor. Just letting you know the Out of Bounds podcast is brought to you by the Penn, IUP student voice, with music provided by Beats by the Passion. High five. Don't forget to holler at your boys on Twitter at TheOOBP, and you can also check out our podcasts at thepenn.org or on iTunes.